Flex, alive is one in the six. With the runner, boy, you nigga, no question. You would run a motherfucker high stepping. Hey, you never had a big enough weapon. Motherfucker never learned your lesson. I'm an 88 pack nigga. I'm an 88 pack nigga. I mean, day walker, drink blood, fangs out, full moon, motherfucker, change like a hoe, nigga. I'm just a nigga from the hood, trying to stack a little cheddar for the money.
Yeah, buddy. Let's get to it. Sunday, welcome to the Strong House. Drew Titan, Bronx on deck. Shout out to Mighty LDBC. Let's do this roll call real quick. Shout Town's finest, my brother. Salute, man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We miss the great Kurt Sugar, a.k.a. Curtis Anderson. Salute, man. Real Spill Midwest. What up, man? Rod Neal, Del Rev, Shogun, Mark Wunderlich, Utah in the building. Macadose, Mac of the South. Coach Hudson in the building. Salute. Yep. Joe, what's going on? Y'all come on in, smash the like button. Waffles, what's going on? Stormy, what's going on, brother?
Salute to you, man. Salute to the chat. Glad to be here. We're going to talk some good boxing. As you see, I'm showing my support this evening.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Yes,
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I want to have a conversation this evening about coaching. I mean, we talk about it sometimes, but I think we don't talk about it enough. Derek Gaines, salute, good brother. Y'all see the meme I did, pun intended, because Bo Mack coached Eddie Reynoso under the table. He coached him. He out-coached him. Everything, Eric Jordan, salute. Everything, and I don't recall word for word, but a good coach knows and understands his product. When I say product, I'm talking about the fighter. It's like a dance partner. Y'all have to be in sync. Kid and Play, when they used to be on stage dancing, they had to be in sync. Roger Mayweather, when they did that orchestrated pad work with Floyd, they were in sync. Bo Mack is an example with what he got going on with Bud. That's an example of him being in sync. And I'm going to say something else. You know who else is in sync with their product? 88, what up? You know who else is in sync? Coach Cal and Tank Davis. They're in sync. Do you know why? Because he kept Tank's ass away from his contemporaries. And he said that. He's in sync. Remember when I said, and look, I'm not going to make this about him because I'm going on my Tank farewell tour because he's leaving in about 7 weeks. So don't worry. There's going to be a lot of Tank discussion. But what I'm saying is, you remember when he told Marco in reference to Shakur, why would we want that fight? He's not going to stand there, let us do what we do. He told y'all, I'm the coach. Tank is the product. He's the talent. I know the limitations of this man, and that's why we don't want the Shakur fight. When he said, what about Devin Haney? He said, at what weight, though? After he went to 140 and fought Mario Barrios, didn't fight Regis Prograis, didn't fight Josh Taylor, who was the real undisputed champion. And now he's fighting Jake Paul on the way out. He knows the product. And he's afraid about that Jake Paul fight because he got on there and started talking about gloves and stuff. He knows his product. He knows the product. So Bo Mack knows his product, and Bud's job is to execute. And man, what do we call Bret Hart? The excellence of execution. He needs to come out to Bret Hart's theme music. His next fight. Best is, best it was, best ever will be. Bro, I'm telling you, this right here is Snoop and Dre. When you first heard The Chronic, when you first heard Snoop, this is Snoop and Dre right here. When you first heard it, you're like, yo, hold on. There's like chemistry here. This is chemistry. This is a prime. Y'all a little young for this. We clown Will Smith, but when he was the Fresh Prince, Jazzy Jeff and the French Prince, it just meshed. It just meshed. That's what it was. This is what we're looking at here. And when I recall listening to the corner work, he told Bud to do everything correct. And I'll be damned. As soon as that bell, when Bud got up off that stool, at least 15 seconds into the fight, he did exactly what Bo told him to do. And let me tell you, Bo has an excellent eye for the sport. When I tell you that Canelo was well scouted. First of all, it's not hard to scout this dude because he does the same thing. You just have you have to have the game plan and the talent to offset everything that he does. And when we kept saying that Bud was all wrong for Canelo, if he could stay disciplined, which he did, he was all wrong for him. This is what we was talking about. All the way up until that last exchange in round 12, man. If they bring back 15 rounds, y'all do understand that Canelo was about to get knocked out. It was going to happen. Bud has all the tools. And the thing is, there's a lot of fighters that have tools, but they don't have the right coaching to bring it out. That's the problem we had with Anthony Joshua. He wasn't allowed to go forward. And so what if you fail? But you got to fail forward. Okay, I see what he did or whatever. Get him with the right coach. They could fix a lot of things. But he has to understand how to contradict what's coming at him in the ring. And the failure with AJ, he could have been a lot better if he had the proper coaching. He's what you call a specimen. He's a physical specimen. But he wasn't worth it. He's not worth a damn. They got all the money out of him and counting, but he was never able to progress as a fighter. 88 Sports talking that super chat. He says, you know who else is in sync? Reynoso, Jim, and all of them on that shit. Exactly. Exactly. They haven't done anything. Thank you, 88, for that. They haven't done anything. But Pop Dirty, right? Ryan is in and he's out. Where's Andy Ruiz? What the hell is going on here with him? I don't know. We don't know what's going on over there other than them popping dirty. And Eddie Reynoso, from what was being translated on that side with Canelo, all I heard was it was shades of Chavez when he fought Meldrick Taylor. All the strategy went out the window. It was do it for your family. Your kids are right there watching. Huh? He keeps hitting me with a jab and I can't seem to get away from it. Please help. And with some help of Richard Steele and, faulty counts, he got one. But Eddie Reynoso was giving nothing key. But Stormy, this is your forte. Give it to us, brother.
Well, you and I were just talking a few moments ago, and I was speaking on the fact that I'm so glad that Andre Ward was able to sit down with Bud after his victory and get Bud to open up in a way that a lot of people may not have been able to get him to speak about specifics. One of the things that he outlined to Ward was he felt during the fight that he could take Canelo. However, he remained disciplined and stayed to the game plan. That was very important when he said that, because not only did it kind of take Ward aback, but you understand that this is coming from an accomplished man already. He has already been a 2-division undisputed champion. He has already been a 4 or 5 division champion. And the fact that they do have a history that at any given time he could decide to say, well, damn, what my coaches are saying, I can do this. No, he stayed within the framework of what they suggested for him and stuck to that to a degree that it was so successful, it became a primary reason for his victory. Mm-hmm. And within showing that reserve, he also stayed disciplined within himself to not get too high about being victorious or to get too low about it. And also gave him the humility to give Canelo the belts back, because those are Canelo's belts. They'll be sending Bud his own. But he showed class all the way through, from beginning to end. Because if you remember, going back to the promotion when it started, it was Canelo who began to talk about questioning his resume, and once again stating about him, he hadn't fought anyone and things like that, questioning who was your best victory and this and that, things that have all been attributed to Canelo, basically.
Yeah.
But Canelo deflected and put it on Bud, who still rose above all of that and simply told him, there's going to be a lot of people crying when this is done. When I stump a mud hole in your ass, you are going to be a nobody just like everybody else. And he said it not only with a sincerity, but he said it with confidence and the understanding of knowing that this was his time and his moment. He said on the dais at the podium when he was in his final presser against Errol Spence, he was like, my victory here is going to tell you that this is the Terrence Crawford era. He said that.
That's exactly what he said.
And he pounded the podium because there were people clowning Spence supporters in the presser's audience. And they were kind of getting a little disruptive. And he was like, hey, you know, he was like, now y'all want to see whether or not I can get active. And he pounded that podium and he said, I can get active. When Derek James made that remark about it being, you know, Bud's mom's birthday and everything, and he said that, I was like, you know what? That was one of the worst things that Derek James could have done. Because you don't, and I don't say this lightly, people. This is not me being a Bud supporter or something. This is me telling you what I come to understand in the years in observation of not only just watching boxing, but professional sports as a whole. You don't want to give the opposing team bulletin board material. You don't want to do that. And James fell right into that. Spence fell right into that. And the performances meted out on the opposite side didn't live up to their ridicule or the false confidence and promise that they put out of what they would be able to do. When Scrapbook, Kurt Sugar, and myself spoke of these two men facing one another many years ago we talked about how he was going to really embarrass Spence because he's different. You know, he's different. And, you know, some of these guys, I remember as an example, talking about the NBA. When Doc Rivers played for Atlanta, he had a game against the Chicago Bulls where I think they were in Atlanta and they were playing the first game of a back-to-back. Doc had a decent game and Jordan had only scored, I believe it was 16 points for the game. And in the locker room after the game, his teammates were patting him on the back and great game, Doc, you know, this and that, blah, blah, blah. They were hooping it up. They was like, yeah, we handled the Bulls tonight, blah, blah, blah. And out of nowhere, Mr. Jordan ducked his head in the locker room, and over everyone's clamoring, clattering, and talking, he said, hey, Doc. And everybody stopped and they turned and looked. He said, that was a good game tonight. And he turned around and walked away. The next day, I think Jordan lit him up for like 40 plus points or something like that, and Doc
One of those.
about the game and it was like ridiculous. See, that's the competitiveness of Bud Crawford. He's that same individual. Andre Ward talked to him about it. Andre Ward got him to say, man, when you were like this, that, and this, he was like, I was just like, where does that come from? Bud is different. And that's not like kissing up to him. It's an acknowledgement, because this is an era where there are not a lot of guys like that. And you and I, like we said, we were talking behind the scenes before the live. There's a couple of other fighters like that, but they're not in his same weight class.
Right. We'll put a spotlight on that maybe next week. We'll put a spotlight on the fighters that are like that.
Yeah.
We'll do that next week.
But we talked about that, and the whole point of it is that when you recognize that there is creme de la creme, you have to acknowledge that and stop saying people who are great, who have not done anything great, haven't achieved greatness or anything like that. Having strings of knockouts don't mean diddly poo if you can't fight. Having a record of being undefeated only tells us that you've been in against people that they've matched you up with, that you can prevail. Having gone into a bout never being 50-50 on the page, or actually being on the lower side of the
underdog
consideration of winning, means that you haven't faced anything. So this is all an education on elevation. And when you talked about Reynoso, whom has never displayed the ability to coach his fighters through difficulties with adjustments, being able to take a fighter who might have limitations and still find a way to incorporate some strategy and tactics and everything to put him in a position to win. It's one of the reasons why I rate Robert Garcia of the Garcia Boxing Academy way over Reynoso, because he has done this not only with one guy, because everybody knows Bam Rodriguez, but Robert has a crew of assistants and everything with him, and a slew of fighters who fight out of his gym, who are very, very astute at listening to instructions and trying them out. Do you remember a few weeks ago that he had a young fighter on the undercard that was facing a guy from Puerto Rico that was a favorite guy going into that bout? And his guy had a loss or two on his record. But man, after 2 rounds, I was like, oh, Robert's young charge is coming on. And this young Puerto Rican guy that they were featuring, it's not looking good for him
in the fight.
And he ended up upsetting the guy. But that was all coaching. It was coaching. You see, that's why I never give Freddie Roach too much credit. Freddie Roach has worked with a slew of guys, but he has also had men come through his gym who were accomplished fighters that came from somewhere else or whatever, and some of them had some successes. Some of them were primed for greater success, and he has taken the bow for not constructing a guy, forming him from clay, you know? And it makes a difference when a coach is able to do that. I often talked about the greatness of Eddie Futch. Do you know that Eddie Futch is the only trainer where all of his heavyweight fighters fought Ali and beat him? He's the only one.
Nobody considers that.
No, and I pointed that out with the 3 wise men of boxing. We were talking and had this conversation, and I brought that up, and Kurt and Scrap looked and they scratched their heads. They was like, you know what, Stormy? Yeah, you're right. I'm like, yeah, think about that. He had Ken Norton, he had Joe Frazier, he had Larry Holmes, and he was around Spinks. And those men defeated Ali, and none of them fought the same way. They had different styles, different sizes, different attributes, different limitations. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's when you know a coach is cooking with hot grease.
Let me make a lateral move because sometimes, you know, people, they don't understand exactly. I know the answer to this, but I want to hear your thoughts, and I know you know already. What made Phil Jackson such a great coach? Because a lot of people say, oh, well, he had Michael and Dennis, and they don't even know there was two Bulls, two runnings. The first three, Dennis wasn't there. He was there for the last three. But what made Phil Jackson such a great coach?
He understood the element that is most important about the charges that you work with. You have to know the dimensions of the individual's character.
There you go.
And when I talked about 5-dimensional fighters, that's what separates someone who is elite from someone who's not good. And that gap of everything in between can be a combination of one or more. But that 5th dimension is someone who has everything and the coach to go with, and they lean on the coach in order for them to maintain the success.
Poor work output reflects leadership.
Absolutely.
A lot of people like to say, well, Michael Jordan don't win shit without Scottie Pippen. True. And vice versa. True. But Jordan didn't start winning until Phil Jackson got there.
And Jordan had to be convinced by Phil to trust his teammates.
That's right. Because prior to that, he was winning all these awards, but they weren't winning.
There's a story, because, you know, I'm here in Chicago, so I know about the Bulls, you know, in and out, but I'm not a basketball freak like that. It's just that I've been around through the era when all of this great basketball began to happen. Phil would host these practices, and he would burn these incense, and he would hand out to the players a book. Now, each player had a different book. He didn't give them all the same book to read. So the book that he gave you to read, he gave it to you for a specific reason. You understand?
Yep.
And so in these practices, when they would have these moments of meditation and everything, and because, you know, Doug Collins was the coach before Phil.
Right.
And Jordan had a great rapport with Doug Collins, and he loved Doug Collins because Doug Collins let him do whatever he wanted to do. Get the ball to Michael. That's all Doug Collins said. Get out of the way. Get the ball to Michael. And of course, Jordan, because he was still young then, he was like in his 27 years of age or something. I think he had been in the league like 6 years or something like that.
Yeah.
So when Phil came along, and Phil was doing these things and having these basic seances and everything, Jordan would sit in the practice. He would participate with what Phil was doing, but he, like they say, close your eyes and meditate, focus on this or that. Jordan would sit there and he's sitting, he kind of crack his eyes open and be looking around at everybody like, what is this bull crap this guy got us doing? But guess what? He decided to buy into the coach, because that was a decision. He decided to buy into the coach.
Yep.
And the philosophy that the coach had: trust your teammates. Because when you trust or entrust in them, they will gain confidence from that entrusting factor, and they will look to perform at a higher level because you're bringing them along with you.
That's right.
You see? Now, in boxing, it's the same thing. but you're one-on-one with your coach and trainer.
Right.
So you have to be able to trust or entrust that the trainer and coach is giving you a formula for success. But you have to apply. That means apply yourself and apply the principles. And they have to come together and congeal to a degree of where it works like a machine. Bomac has given the interview and talked about that his other coaches, when they're in the gym, he tells them, you guys coach this, I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna score the sparring rounds and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna make notes and this and that. And he says he gives that lead to each guy, because it's 3 of them that are the head trainers there, including Bernie, who's in there. And the whole point of that is to make them feel a part of what's going on, and to make the fighters feel comfortable and a part of what's going on, because it's a philosophy. It's just like when Coach Belichick was coaching the Patriots with all of that success, and some guys would have a bad attitude or whatever, and he would get rid of that guy and bring another guy in and plug him right into the system, and it would continue to work. And it could even be a guy who may not have had the same stats that the guy that left, but when he came in, he could do the job because he came in buying into what the coach's philosophy was.
That's right.
That's why Vince Lombardi was such a successful coach.
Man, you preaching, bro. What was the name? Remember, do you believe in miracles? Remember when America beat Russia in hockey in the Olympics?
Yeah.
Which was unheard of, because Russians were, that was their thing, hockey.
The Miracle on Ice, yeah.
Right. In that movie, there's a line. Kurt Russell, he played the head coach. And at first, the ideology was, we need to get the best players in the NHL to compete with these Russians.
Right.
And he said, I'm not doing that. They was like, what are you talking about? We got to get pros. He says, no, I'm not looking for the quote unquote best players. I'm looking for the right ones.
Right.
Bomac, because I heard someone say this. Oh, well, Bomac, he was a trash fighter. That don't mean shit. Execute. There's things that he saw Bud could do that, of course, if he was a fighter, he'd be able to execute. He would do it, but he couldn't do it. But he knows the game. You don't have to be this super duper killer and then have it translate as a coach. Magic Johnson coached the Lakers and he got the hell out of there before the season was done. He's a Hall of Fame player, but a coach, he was shot. He was like, I can't coach these kids. They don't think like how I think. And I don't have the patience for it. They asked Marvin Hagler, why don't you become a trainer? He said, no, because if I see someone not doing what I tell them to do, they might be trying, but if they can't execute, I'm going to lose my mind and kick his ass in the gym. I remember him saying that. He said, no, I'd be a horrible coach. And he understood that. Larry Bird with the Pacers, he did okay. He did okay. It was kind of like bizarre to watch because he never celebrated or nothing. It was bizarre.
But Larry still had a great basketball mind.
He did.
Yeah.
Magic had a great mind. Bird had a great mind. But
no. Let me say this about Magic, and this is not to disrespect him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that he had a great basketball mind, but he did have elite talent.
Okay.
See, that's a difference because when you can play at a certain level and you can do it, that's like, wow, you would try to find others who have talent like that, but trying to get them to use the talent or buy into what your philosophy is still difficult. But
Right.
Larry had an excellent basketball mind, and he was able to convey that to the players that played for him. That's kind of rare, but guess what? Phil had it too. Phil was on a championship New York team.
2 New York Knicks teams.
Yep, and won the title. But when he got the chance to coach, his philosophy was coaching differently than some of the others. Even when he went to the Lakers, and they had a whole bunch of different type problems there than the Bulls had, and he still got them to a point where, because remember, they were talented enough to make the finals or even get to the conference finals, but they couldn't win the big one. Phil gets there And when he got those guys to buy into the philosophy that he was trying to permeate through the DNA of the team, they began to win once they did that. But they couldn't hold it together because the egos of those younger men still matriculated into what they were trying to do, and it still fell apart again for the very reasons that they didn't do it before Phil arrived. So it's like, again, you have to trust in what the formula is, whether it's Phil, it's Belichick, if it's Custy Amato, if it's Eddie Futch, it's the same.
I said that because I don't want people to feel, or they like to lean on the what did he do as a pro, and I tell people that doesn't necessarily translate. How many professional rounds did Emmanuel Stewart box?
Well, he was a pretty good amateur fighter. And
but did he make his mark in boxing on a pro level that we recall?
No. But he adopted that whole thing about transitioning into the sport from a coaching and teacher and mentoring aspect.
Correct.
That's like myself. The only reason that I didn't want to do it professionally because I know about the dirt.
Yes,
and my principles won't allow me to wallow in the dirt. I can't do it. But I can advise. I can tell you, because guess what? I'm never going to tell you nothing wrong. I will always give you keys to assist with being successful, to unlock locks. And that's the difference. To be able, why do you think, like, when I sit up and I'm critical of the poor coaching, the poor preparation, the poor output of fighters, it's never sounding good for the person that's being critiqued, because I see all the flaws and I speak them, and it's like embarrassing, and it's unflattering, and it's not popular, but it's the truth. And see, that's what people have a hard time getting beyond sometimes, especially when you're speaking on them, because most want that pat on the shoulder, but they don't want to hear you're lazy, you're a slacker.
I wanted to play a game tonight. And I know we got some Canelo fanatics watching. You know, I remember all of you. I don't have the list in front of me. I wrote you guys who tried to do drive-by, but figure drawing sticks out in my mind. You see, if you stuck around, young man, I'd have gave you a wrench. You know, just to have you around, because we're talking boxing. But, you know, you're scared to come around because of the results. It's boxing. But let's play a game. I see Coach Hudson in the chat. I see all my family in the chat. Let's play a game, Stormy. I'm going to start with you. Now watch this, y'all. Remove Eddie Reynoso and put you in Canelo's camp. What would you have told Canelo to do in order to compete with Bud after round 3?
In order to compete with Bud, what Canelo was going to have to do it would have been a different preparation before round 1. You understand? In the camp, because Canelo is a limited guy, but he is still capable of being victorious. He could take a shot.
Yep.
So we know that. So in order to put himself in position to be successful, he has to do something that he's non-reliant upon. Do you know what that is? It's a simple thing. He has to jab. Canelo fights without a jab. He's
not fast enough or talented enough to get away with that. Roy Jones used to get away with things like that, but Canelo's not that.
But see, Roy Jones didn't use a jab. He used his reflexes.
Right.
And he used his reflexes to throw looping and hooking shots until the slippage of athleticism kicked in. Then that was no longer effective for him. And because he didn't box he ran into problems with people who did or who had great timing. The shortest distance between 2 points is what? A straight line. So if you're a guy that throws looping and hooking shots, I can beat you to the punch with timing by throwing something straight out at you. Or anytime that I see you about to do one of those things, I could just stick my arm up to block it or to stop it or whatever. That'll disrupt your timing. Now I can get my timing off. Mm-hmm. It's the science of the sport. Canelo could use a jab to be more effective. That will begin to open up things. Tyson was 5'10"
and out jabbing people.
Fighting big men that was 6'1" plus, and he could out jab some of these guys with timing and being elusive. You make a guy mix, you make him pay. You know, one of the things that he did most successfully through his career, especially when he was younger and dynamic, was Cuss had him throwing shots in a certain sequence. You don't see anybody today doing that. Nobody. And you know what it is? It's like this. If I throw a left hook to your head, I'm going to follow it with a right hook to the body.
To the body.
If I throw a right hook to the head, I'm going to follow it with a left hook to the body. Mm-hmm. If I throw one this way and one that way, the next one, the third one, is going to be either down or up the middle. In other words, the punches are in a cycle of where a guy can't block everything. That's a simple principle and philosophy of boxing, which is why you've heard me state in the past, I said, one of the things that guys can do to be more successful today is to throw combinations. You get guys who fall in love with the 1 or the 1-2. Mm-hmm. And they're so busy trying to get out of the way that they can't commit to what they're doing. But see, when you commit to what you're doing, you're supposed to know how to move head off center line, move your upper body a certain way, so you won't be right there to catch the receipt. This is poor coaching.
And you say that all the time.
Yes.
You say it all the time.
Like Shakur Stevenson. Let me say this. Everybody thinks that he's a pretty damn good boxer, right? Mm-hmm. He's not. Because all you have to do is make him commit, which he doesn't really want to do. Sugar Ray Leonard was a fast boxer, very fast.
You stop. Okay, I'm gonna let you go ahead because I already go ahead.
So
go ahead.
when Kurt and I used to talk about Sugar Ray, and Kurt used to say that he thought that Sugar Ray was one of the only welterweights that could have possibly beat the old Sugar Ray because of how fast he was and because of his footwork and his lateral movement and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. But he said the one thing that can beat a fast counter puncher is that you have to counter his counter.
Yes.
You have to counter his counter. So with Shakur, who is not going to give you more than a 1 and a 2 or a 1, 2, 3 at the most, that you have to, in order to open him up, you got to throw more than 2. I didn't say throw more than 1. I said you got to throw more than 2 in order to open him up. Mm-hmm. Now, when you begin to throw more than 2, what will happen is he's looking for his counter already. But if you increase the 2 by 4, then he's going to close up like in the shell. Mm-hmm. But the pressure of that, what will happen is psychologically, it will begin to wear upon him. You know, fatigue makes cowards out of men. The first thing to go is your confidence when someone is hitting you and you don't understand why. And you don't know, how did that get in? because he threw 5 before and you blocked 3 of them. One got caught, nearly got you, but when that 5th one came, it nailed the shit out of you. You see what I'm saying? It's like it's a science. If water drips on a certain spot,
Blue, what up, Blue? Go ahead.
if it drips on a certain spot, drip, 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 it will begin to make a watermark. If it continues to drip on that certain spot over a long period of time, we're talking maybe a year or 2, you can guarantee that the water and the salt in it and everything will begin to erode that area of where it drips to the degree it begins to penetrate. A fighter needs to understand science. And a real coach and trainer should be able to convey the philosophy of why this works. I used to tell guys, take these 2 fingers right here and tap yourself on the arm like this. You don't even have to do it hard, but you can tap yourself on the arm like this for 15 minutes. Tomorrow, you'll have a pain in your arm.
That's right.
When you flex your wrist and your forearm, you'll be like, hey, this feels kind of stiff. Why is that? Oh, you didn't remember when you was just tapping lightly like that? It's penetrating.
Let me jump in here with what I learned. Disclaimer with throwing combinations. There's that. Listening to your coach. Let your coach tell you when to do it because it depends on the opponent. Because a guy like Amir Khan, very fast, but he would admire his work and he wouldn't get out in time. And every time he was in there mixing it up, he was Danny Garcia was getting his ass kicked, but he timed him and he didn't even throw the punch when he didn't even look when he threw it, but Amir was there for it. And that always seemed to have happened with him. Now, I was trained that timing negates speed. And if you have a good jab, that offsets all that shit. And I was told sometimes you don't even have to aim for the head. Touch him. Hit him in the glove. Make him reset. And if you have a guy that has to set his feet to throw some stuff, you hit him with a jab, he's resetting. It gets to the point where he's going to be biting off of every feint. You could feint a jab and throw a hook off of it. It's not magic, it's science. Another example. You know who would have did great? You know who would have did better against Bud? I'm not saying he'd have won, but you know who would have did better against Bud than Canelo, I think? Miguel Cotto. Miguel Cotto had a hell of a jab. Ask Floyd Mayweather. He bust Floyd Mayweather's face up with a jab. He was in that fight. Matter of fact, Miguel Cotto did better against Floyd than Canelo did. The jab is everything. Vernon Forrest offset Shane Mosley with the damn jab. Go back and watch Antonio Tarver. He was putting that pole right on Roy's shoulder, made him reset. The jab is everything. It's everything. So you could be a super fast fighter, but if he's running into a pole all day long, you're making him think about it. I'm telling you, that is some serious stuff. That is some serious stuff. I think Cotto, I'm not saying he'd have beat Bud, because moving forward, I'm never picking against Bud. That shit is dead. But I think Cotto would have gave a better fight, because Cotto, believe it or not, although he fought Canelo and lost, I think Cotto had more tools, and I think he had a higher IQ. And I'm going to go back to Stormy. Let me ask you a question, Stormy. Who runs that corner? Eddie Reynoso or Canelo Alvarez?
I think Reynoso runs it, but there's a false sense of security and maybe even loyalty, because Reynoso, he might be a good bluffer, but you tell me what marked improvement that you have noticed in Canelo's career as far as how he fights since he lost to Floyd Mayweather.
He hasn't improved at all. But I saw that. But people, he just got bigger in weight, and that's it. He hasn't improved as a fighter. All of his fighters were made to order, and the people that we really wanted them to see, or at least run it back with, he didn't do it. Erislandy Lara gave him issues. What you call it? What's his name? He was on the show. God damn it. He's fighting in bare knuckle now. What's his name? What's the brother's name, Stormy? Why am I having a brain fart?
Which
right
one?
now?
I mean,
he was winning, and then Canelo hit him with a jab and dropped Austin Trout. Thank you, Universal Truth. Austin, no doubt, Trout. These guys was giving him issues. All you got to do to be in the fight with Canelo is not be in front of him. This guy's very cut and dry. But if you don't have the talent to contradict what he does, Avni Yildirim, Caleb Smith.
Have you ever heard a fighter post-fight with Canelo say, man, he had a great jab?
Never.
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 And think about it this way. If he had simply added that to his repertoire, he would have increased his abilities by maybe 30%.
Keith Beecham says, no, Canelo's upper body movement improved greatly after Floyd. Don't do that. How? Don't block him. We just having a conversation. It's not beef. How? Because he hasn't changed at all. He had the same upper body movement that he had versus Floyd. And he had the same
about
upper
his physical talents. I'm not talking about his defensive. I mean, I never said he wasn't a good defensive fighter. I didn't say that.
That's
you see, this is why you have to listen with your ears and not with your heart, and leaving your head at somewhere else at home. Because what I'm talking about, there are veteran coaches and trainers who will back me up on what I'm saying. See, you're speaking, Mr. Beecham, with emotion and feeling, which I am not really attached to that at all. Because the proof is in the pudding. We even gave an example earlier about AJ being the same type of fighter, that he never improved throughout his journey. He allowed the class to catch up to where he was. And then when he had to face one of them, he got embarrassed, which is why it's been now over a year. He hasn't even fought again. He's never had a layoff like this.
Nope.
Never had a layoff like this.
An example of the brother Keith Beecham. I'm going to give you an example of coaching, improving a fighter. Arturo Gatti, after he fought Mickey Ward the first time, that was a war. Classic war. That wasn't, you go to a boxing match and a fight breaks out. That's what that was. Go watch the rematch after Arturo Gatti got with Buddy McGirt. Some people said, oh man, the rematch was boring. It wasn't boring. You know what happened? Buddy sat him down and said, all of that fighting in the pocket, we ain't doing that. You're going to box this guy. And he won fairly easy in the rematch. You saw Arturo doing things that people haven't either seen him do in a long time, because he was always able to do it. He just stopped. Either you never seen him do it before, or you haven't seen him do it in a long time. What Buddy did was say, you're going to use lateral movement. You're going to box this guy. Forget all of this tough guy in the pocket stuff. You're going to run the risk of losing. Go look at the first fight between Gatti and Ward, and then look at the rematch. It's two different fights. That's coaching. Gatti improved. So a slugger wouldn't beat him. The way Mickey Ward was fighting, he was prepared to fight the old Gatti. He wasn't prepared to fight someone that didn't stand in front of him. That's an example. Canelo
That's
has
what
not.
Ray Leonard did to Duran in his rematch with Duran. In the first fight, he fought Duran's fight by being right there in front of him, going blow for blow, which Duran was more experienced and had a greater sense of infighting than Ray Leonard did. And he continued to draw Leonard into that. That's why he talked about his wife and did all those things to insult him and everything, to make sure that Leonard would fight him. In the first fight.
Right.
But in the second fight, Leonard was like, no, later for that, I'm going to swim without getting wet.
And that's just what he did. And no mas. The brother Keith says the Danny Jacobs fight was when Canelo flashed a whole new defensive construct. I disagree, because his defense was never trash. That's what I'm saying. Canelo has really good defense, brother. He does. It's just that he's easy to figure out, and he didn't stand in front of people. He didn't fight people that could crack that defense. He fought Danny, but Danny isn't as slick a boxer as Aniris Landry Lara, and we saw that. So it wasn't a new defensive construct. It was already there. It's just that Danny didn't have the tools to get ahead on him in the cards or the judging.
In fact, Danny is quite robotic, to be honest.
I wouldn't consider Danny a slick fighter. I wouldn't consider him and like I said, Canelo, and this goes to the point when people talk about Mexican style until we ask, well, what exactly is Mexican style? What is that? Is that Marco Antonio Barrera Morales? Is that, I don't know, Cristobal Arreola? Is it Cesar Chavez, or is it Canelo? What is it? You understand? Canelo is a damn good defensive fighter. He's damn good. But the thing is, he can still be touched when someone brings certain things to the table. We saw it. Caleb Plant was tapping him up. Eris Landry Lara was giving him angles. Austin Trout was tapping him up. Bivol was tapping him up, but he don't have a mean streak. And Bud was tapping him up. And Bud tried to get him out of there in 12. So the same defensive construct that he had when he fought Floyd was the same one that he had versus Bud. The difference is Bud is more offensive, and Bud is a killer. Bud got the instinct that Floyd had when he was fighting at 35, when he was pretty boy Floyd. Would y'all agree? Bud got that instinct at 68. He was trying to go get it.
The thing that's dangerous about Bud is this. He has still yet in 42 fights faced a fighter to bring the best out of him.
Yeah.
He has yet to face a fighter that would bring the best out of him. And I do believe that there's another untapped reserve that he has. We haven't seen him knocked down. We haven't seen him down to the degree that he got to pull it out. Well, maybe you can say the Sean Porter situation, maybe. But what I'm saying is,
you talking about him digging deep, like being down and hurt, and he has to go in and bring it out. I'll agree.
And I do believe he has that. It's just that there hasn't been one of his contemporaries to be able to do that. Now, the one fighter that I said, and you heard me in a conversation with you say this, that we never got a chance to see it, because I believe out of all the PBC fighters, this would have been the man to give Bud the exact challenge that we would have needed to see him face, and that was Keith Thurman. Because Keith Thurman has the athleticism, he has the ring IQ and boxing intelligence, and he also has mobility and enough pop on his punch to make you respect him. And that would have been a fighter that he has to figure out to win. And that would have put him in a position to maybe even take certain type of risks to come out of, a shell, not that he's in a shell, but to a dimension, to open that door and say, hey, well, let me pull this out of my toolbox here. We haven't seen that, but I do believe it's there. And I'll tell you this, for anyone who thinks that like they're gonna crush him or has that type of mentality, like I hear this guy Zanabek now, he really talking some stuff, because Bud beat Canelo. He's really talking because but see, I'm gonna tell you something about guys like him.
Mhm.
He will get fucked up. Excuse my language, because I gotta say it plainly.
Mhm.
He will get fucked up because he got it twisted about Bud. He don't know that man like that. I've been watching the guys he been beating up. He been beating up on a whole host of dudes that don't even belong in the ring with him.
That's right.
And the thing is, yeah, you've been doing all of that, but you've been having trouble making weight and everything. Boy, you need to sit your ass down somewhere. Bud ain't never missed weight, never came close to it. This is a dedicated fighter, and he is the type of fighter that will peel your fucking cap and twist it backwards. You understand? I hate guys like that because see, he all of a sudden Zanabek got a voice because he's jealous that Bud went up 2 weight classes, not 3, because he stopped at 154 and he whooped so-called face of boxing and turned him into what I've always called him, the ass of boxing, because some people don't know up from bottom, huh? Yeah. And that's what I got to say about that.
Be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it, Janabek. You know, Bud is dare I say, a throwback fighter. I could picture Bud running around on ABC on a Saturday morning. Some of those guys are just like that. Those guys were different. And Bud, I never doubted him, but I'm saying he made me more of a believer. It's a man down over here, and I picked Earl to beat him until after round fucking 1. And I was there live, and I'm like, yo, he's kicking Earl's ass. And look, we all saw it. We all saw it. I have no problem being honest about what we saw. I did my short video before I left the T-Mobile, bro. I said, yo, I ain't got nothing to say about Bud. I ain't got nothing. No, and I never had anything bad to say about him. We was talking about the business. We just wanted to fight. Once that got solidified, I said it's up now. And I'm not betting against Bud ever again. That shit's over.
Did you hear what I said about Keith Thurman and what type of situation that he would present, to Bud?
Yeah.
And of course, when I was speaking of that, I was talking about at welterweight.
At welter at 147. Yes.
When they were all there.
When they were you're right. Yes.
Now, what's interesting is there are people in the chat that's giving their thoughts about the whole thing without even having listened to the break. See, this is what I talk about uneducated mindsets. It's like people who are ready to talk before taking in information. Then we just talk about that when we were saying what makes a great coach and how he's able to have a great student and pupil for absorbing information. What I said was an applied science about why that would have been a great fight to watch and a challenge for Bud, because he hadn't had that in no one he's faced in 42 fights. So to not even take an acknowledgement and think for a moment like, well, let me see. No, you're just quick to respond and give off what you give. But that's how this last opposing opponent ended up in the trick bag, losing his titles to the man. You see, that's how that happens. And don't forget, going into this fight, all of you guys now who want to say what Bud would do to somebody and this and that, y'all were betting against him and hoping that he lose and everything before the fight. See, I am of the affirmation of knowing that there were a lot of consensus against him being successful. And a lot of that had to do with he may have defeated someone that you wanted to see beat him. So, I don't have a dog in the race, but I'm going to tell you something. I know how the race is run. And I know how the race is won. That's the difference. Sit down and learn something for a change. Otherwise, hold your own court. Hold your own class. That's the way to do it.
You see, what you guys are missing, once upon a time, when Keith had the cornrows and his hairline was a little more full, at 147, he was next up. Remember he was running around chasing Floyd. We gonna burn money. Remember that? Remember he shouted at Paulie Malignaggi, "You better not duck me, son." Remember all of that? That Keith Thurman. You remember that fight he had with Sean Porter? You remember Sean Porter's a dog, man. They had damn near fight of the year. Y'all remember that? That was on free TV. Shout out to the PBC. That was on CBS up here in New York. I watched that fight, and Keith Thurman is a dog. And what we're saying is, at 47, that Keith Thurman brought an intense style.
And that was somebody that Floyd didn't even want to face.
Floyd didn't want no part. If Floyd is going to pass the torch, it was supposed to be Keith. He didn't do it. He gave it to Conor McGregor on 50 fights out, but whatever. All right. We're saying that version of Keith, we're not talking about now, at 54, he's fighting the Tyrant Inferno. We're not talking about this Keith. We don't know what's going to happen there. All right. And by the way, stop acting like he can't get knocked out. Brian Mendoza knocked his ass out, and nobody's saying for him to get it back in blood. Go figure. Whatever. Those terms are reserved for certain people, but whatever. But yeah, shout out to Fundora though. It's no hate. I'm just pointing out how fans treat people. But that version of Keith Thurman at 47 was running through shit. Now, had that fight had happened at 47 at that time, to me, that was a 50-50 fight. In fact, I might have leaned towards Keith at that time because Bud would have just been coming to 47. But what we're saying is that version of Keith would have brought something out of Bud where he would have had to have dug deep. Would Keith have won? I don't know. Right now, knowing what I know about Bud now, I'm not picking against Bud. I'm saying, what year was that, Stormy? Like, if that fight had happened in 2019, before the pandemic?
Just before the pandemic, yeah.
Right. Right there, people would have favored Keith, believe it or not. I'm just saying, if Bud had came up then and fought and beat Keith, I'd have been looking at Errol then like, yo, bro, you see this guy? You gotta do something now because this is serious. I mean, right now, Bud smokes Keith. But I'm saying back then, one of the few
fighters who have had the experience of being in the ring with Bud going into his fight against Canelo that gave him a shot. There were actually two, believe it or not. One was Jeff Horn. Horn spoke of that because he had been in there and he saw Bud turn it up against him.
Yep.
Something he hadn't experienced at that juncture in his career. He spoke very highly of Bud's opportunity and chance against Canelo. The other, believe it or not, was Jose Benavidez. Jose Benavidez.
That wasn't easy.
Said that Bud is a hell of a fighter. Now, you understand that he and Bud had conflict and everything going into their fight. But sometimes when you whoop a bully's ass, a bully can respect you going forward because they know what it took from you to put them down. And Jose, different from his dad, had a totally opposite outlook on Bud's chances against Canelo. See, when I hear stuff like that, that means that I can give that person credit for looking beyond what the consensus is, whether it's being on code or going with who you like and going with the crowd and all of that. See, those are the kind of things that I listen out for. And it makes a world of difference because perception and reality, there's a thin line there. You know what I mean? And the reality is, in order for someone to make something happen, they have to seize the opportunity. The perception is difficult because of X, Y, Z. There's weight classes for a reason. You know, there's too much size. He can't carry the weight. He's going to be slower. All of that stuff don't mean a damn thing when the man is alpha on the inside and he wants this. Didn't he tell you in his interview with Andre Ward? He said, once I focus in on you, all bets are off. He's like, and I got to that point with Canelo, and I wake up in the middle of the night and I called Bernie and said, I'm going to beat his ass. 3 o'clock in the morning. He said he woke up and called Bernie and told him, I'm going to beat his ass. And Bernie said, okay, let's go to work. You know what I'm saying? Because that's all it takes for guys like that. That's that Michael Jordan mentality, stepping into the Atlanta Hawks locker room, telling Doc Rivers, hey, Doc, good game tonight. And walked out. Didn't say nothing else.
Stormy, people don't understand that about these athletes, man. They don't understand that. And what I'm saying is, all you kids, y'all are a little younger, y'all, that Mamba mentality, that's the Jordan mentality. He was a killer. You know who had that same mentality? Larry Bird was a killer like that. He just ain't talk out loud. Well, people that play with him said, no, Larry talk shit on the floor. You just ain't hear it. You ain't pick it up. But Larry would talk shit. Larry, I forgot who he told, but he says, yo, they're going to inbound it to me. I'm going to catch it right here, and I'm going to shoot. And I'll be damned. And he wasn't flashy. You know, they didn't have no logos after him, but Larry would burn you. Larry Bird was a killer. Michael Jordan was a killer. Kobe Bryant was a killer.
Larry Bird told Dominique Wilkins, and it's on a YouTube short. Mm-hmm. He told him, hey, Dominique, you the only one guarding me tonight.
Oh, I know that one. Yeah.
Like, he's like, well, yeah. He was like, he looked around. Just you, huh?
Yup.
Larry said,
these 40. Kids, these kids watch Larry Bird, and it's like Larry Bird is damn near playing in slow motion. But you don't understand. That dude was a killer. 6'8", 6'9". His jump shot was retarded. Jordan, how could he be 6'6" and then change the game the way he did? Look, when Kobe focused in on you, he would kill you. There's certain athletes that got that. Bud convinced me he's like that. You know how y'all kids were, yo, I'm like that. I'm like, no, Bud's like that. Not that many athletes have that in them. You know who else was like that? Andre Ward was like that. He's like that. Alexander Usyk is like that. This guy right here is like that. He convinced me. He's like that. And Bomac, he saw that and says, you know what? We're going to fine-tune everything. That's what I'm saying. This guy right here knows the product. You know who's not like that? Canelo's not. Canelo ain't got no gear. Let me tell you something else about Bud. Every time, because we've done it at times. Oh, man, Bud's fighting this guy. I don't know about this one. Oh, well, Bud might have a problem here because I'm looking back at what he had, you know, with Gamboa and Green Beans and all these other dudes. We never seen those same issues again. That's what champions do. That's what the mentality. A real fighter with an IQ, they never get hit with the same shit twice. Every time I seen Canelo in a ring with somebody that got better footwork than him, he has a goddamn problem. That's why I kept saying, Bud is all wrong for this guy. Bud is mean.
If William School would have threw more punches, he wins the fight.
He'd have beat him.
He just didn't throw enough punches. The movement was there, but he didn't let his hands go enough.
Right. If William Skull stopped for a moment and threw some combinations, he'd have backed this dude up. He just didn't commit. So when I kept saying that this dude Bud is all wrong for him, and you know what? Bomac knew that. Bomac he's taken this man's skill set and he didn't overdo it. He doesn't make Bud do anything over the top. But Bud does everything. He takes the basics and does it perfect. When I say name your top power forwards, I've done this a lot. I say, give me your top 5 power forwards of all time. It's these young kids don't even mention Tim Duncan. And I'm looking at them like, you've given me Kevin Garnett and all kinds of motherfuckers. Some of these dudes ain't even got no rings. And you just go right. I get Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, who didn't do shit without, he owes half of his career to John Stockton. And you're giving me all these people. And I said, yo, y'all, didn't y'all forget Tim Duncan? What made Tim Duncan special? Basics. Off the glass. That's it. Basics. Didn't they call them big fundamentals?
Yep.
And then check the resume. Check the resume. This dude, Bud, is basically although he's put in work, he's an instant classic. You might not see anything when he hangs it up. You might not see some shit like this for a while. We don't know how special this guy is. And that's what I'm saying. He has that gear, but he hasn't fought anybody to bring it out yet. You know what I'm saying? You know what a fight is made of when you see him hurt and holding on. Deontay, when he fought King Kong Ortiz the first time, when King Kong hurt him, first fight in Brooklyn, I was in my living room screaming, "Hold on! No!" I don't know how the hell he got out that round, but he did. And for him to come back, and remember, this was the killer. King Kong Ortiz was a killer. That was Anthony Joshua's responsibility. D said, "Fuck it, I'll fight him." And he almost got stopped. They let the fight continue, and he not only fought back, but he fought back because he wasn't outboxing King Kong. He fought back and stopped him. If you wasn't confused about if you was confused about anything up until that point, if anything, you knew that Deontay's heart was bigger than anything you've ever seen. Anything. We just saw, what's his name, quit over the last, what's his name? We just watched it. That just fought, he fought Artur Beterbiev and got stopped. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm having a brain fart. Wait, that shit bothering me right now. We just watched, Marcus Brown. Marcus Brown. He quit. When the going got tough, he quit. And guess what? He was kind of winning. And there was still time left. Deontay Wilder's heart did that. I think Bud got the same thing, but no one's been able to compete to the point. Now, he's been hurt. I'm not talking about that. Deontay was out on his feet, man. And he got that second win. That was all heart. All right? Bud's like that. But I can't think of anybody that'll bring that out of him. Who? Janibek wants to be that guy? All right. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. I'd like to see it. I just like to see fighters go on that level and be like, oh, he's hurt. What's he going to do? And he does what Deontay does. Bud got that in him. But I don't think he's fucking with 60. I don't think he's going to do much else at 68. I don't know. Who's going to bring it out? Sometimes it'll be the people you least expected. It might be Janibek. Who knows? But I'm going to go out on a limb and say this guy's a dog. Jose Benavidez, that was not an easy fight. And he had to turn up on his ass. This is what I respect. 8A Sports talking that super chat salute. He says, when Bud asked in the Porter fight, oh, I'm down, he proceeds to get the knockdowns and follow up with the stoppage. Yeah. I think he was coasting on that fight. And then when he said, yo, man, you down? He said, I'm down? He said, we got to fix this. And he did. Freedom's marching that super chat salute to you, good brother. Much love and appreciation. Thank you so much. But it's like that. So I saw something about so I didn't see the video. Something about $100 million to do something at 160. I'm convinced this man could do anything he wants to do. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if Bud fucks around and becomes undisputed at 60, hey man, he gotta be in the conversation in top 10 all time. He gotta be in that conversation. He gotta be there. He has to be there. Remember, man, the world put Canelo on this pedestal. We were saying, hey, man, this guy, he's not what he's cracked up to be. But whatever. And he beat him. To me, the Canelo fight was fairly easy. There was no element of danger. I never was watching that like, I never. Nope. Nope. When I watched King Kong Ortiz and Deontay, I couldn't sit down, bro.
If
In either
Bomac
fight,
would've
I was
taken
that
the
nervous.
leash- If Bomac would have taken the leash off of Bud, he would have stopped Canelo. Bomac kept him dialed in on the game plan. Let's do it this way.
Thomas De La Rosa says, don't get mad, but all sports is rigged, Freemason control, deception. With respect to your opinion, Thomas, you weren't here leading up to the fight saying that. Mr. De La Rosa, you wasn't here saying that, but I bet you if Bud got Caleb planted late in the fight, figured Jordan would be here, probably you would be here, and everybody else, all my Brown brothers would be here.
Insisting
Look at
that
see
we
what I
close
was
our
saying.
channels.
Yup, insisting that we close the channel. So
Not only that, but you know, where were you to insist that Canelo be about that business and take on David Benavidez, who had been his #1 contender and had fought several eliminators? I think he fought 4 or 5 title eliminators, and no one, not even you guys, were out here saying, come on, Canelo, give us the fight. No, as soon as Bud won the fight, that's the thing you guys were saying 24 hours later.
let me
I was
highlight that. This is the first time
how
I heard
that happens.
I heard them. This is the first time I heard them blame the Freemasons. I've heard the cartel. Heard
Yeah.
that.
And I
The
guess the Freemasons interceded there and kept Canelo from fighting Benavidez as well.
Bro, you got to watch out, brother. You got to watch out because there's people listening and people watching. You know, people watching. You got to watch out, brother. I mean, come on, man. Come on, brother. Coach Hudson in that super chat, much love. He said, keep teaching that boxing talk. Man, we on the job, man. All right, Thomas. Let's not go off into that. Let's just deal with the sport as we're dealing with it. Because if it's rigged, how are you here enjoying the conversation? Because it just sounds like an excuse right now. I'm going off of what I saw. All right.
Hey, Thomas, why don't you go back to, what was it, 1982, was it, with Louis Resto and Panama Lewis and everybody, you know, that was involved in a big scandal in boxing back then. Why don't you go back there and research that and then come back here at a later time, you know, and, you know, take your finger out of your butthole and maybe put it into your ear and go la, 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 until you go figure that out. Then you can come back and have a conversation.
The brothers talking about LeBron and the Cavs and King James and the Bible. Stop, bro. Let's not do that. Like I said, people are watching. I know a lot of Masons. I'll just stop there. I'll leave it there. You know, this is the sport. You know what I'm saying? Cartels and everything else. You know, this nigga's talking about, bro, please stop. I'm asking you to stop. Don't type nothing else in reference to that.
Fuck that. Block him.
Yeah, all right, get out of here, bro. You talking about you see y'all? We talking about Bud and competition, coaching, and he's talking about Freemasons and blood sacrifices. Guess what? There's missing kids right now, and we don't know where they are. Are you on those other channels talking about sacrifices and all this other stuff? Stop, bro. We're talking boxing here. Let's do that. You know? I mean, come on. Come on, man. You see how they try to hijack the
Yeah. It's like, you know.
Yo! Oh my God, man. He trying to hijack the conversation. You see how easy it is? We're celebrating this brother. Oh my gosh, okay. And that was a real channel too. We're celebrating this brother's success, having an educated conversation about coaching. And, you know, here we go with the, you know, the robes and the prayers. And let's not do that, y'all. Brother's a dog, and I respect it. He's earned my respect. I never hated the brother. I was just confused about, you know, the 60-40. I wanted him to take it just for the sake of having a fight. He generated compliance. We got what we want as fanatics, or I don't like to call myself a fanatic. I call myself a supporter. And this man, all he's done is win. All he's done is win. They tried to assassinate him. Hey, Thomas, did you talk about how they tried to assassinate him in his own city? Was that masonry or what? What are we doing? What are we doing? What we doing? Maybe Bud survived because he's a Mason. Oh shit, I said that out loud. I don't know nothing. I don't know nothing. I don't know nothing. But where were you when we was talking about that? Come on, man. Stop, man. This is it. Crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. Now we talking about Freemasonry and blood sacrifices. That's why Bud is so... Bro, that's a new one, y'all. Bud is a Freemason. That's why he's so... Wait a minute.
Whoa! What?
That's a new one. That's a new one. Sports is rigged. He's so popular because this dark-skinned man is where he is because he's a Mason. You've heard it here. I've never heard that. I wasn't even thinking about that. I'm just waiting for some nigga to come in here and talk about your aliens. Bud's an alien. That's what it is. Bud's an alien. He on some Men in Black shit. You know what I mean? It can't be that he's just great at what he does. It can't. Every once in a lifetime, we get an athlete that's basically a freak of nature. Prior to Magic Johnson, do y'all know the story of Magic Johnson? How he became Magic? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar got hurt and he had to run the center position, and he's running the floor like a 6 foot tall point guard, but you forget that he's like 6'9". He changed that position. Do y'all realize Magic Johnson is that tall? He's really not supposed to be running that position, but he did it. Michael Jordan, 6'6", changing the game like this. He's not the tallest. What the fuck? But everybody that's played against that man, they said, no, you don't get it. You're at home watching the shit, but you don't understand. It was hard to stop. Y'all remember the Cleveland Cavaliers? Y'all remember Craig Elo and Brad Daugherty and Hot Rod Williams? When they threw the mic in Brad Daugherty's face on ESPN and said, what the fuck? And he just looked at the camera and says, yo, fourth quarter game on the line. It's just impossible to stop that guy. That was his response. He said it's impossible to stop that guy. Jordan be going nuts. I know Kendall Gill, and I've spoken to him like, yo, how good was Mike? And he'd just look at me like, bro, listen, man, that guy was different. I don't understand. This dude's 7 feet tall. Like, I don't understand how this motherfucker, it was impossible to stop him. It's just like that. Every now and again, you get somebody in a sport that it's like, how is he doing this? Y'all remember how great Barry Sanders was? And he left prematurely, but y'all remember how great he was? Like, yo, how's go watch a Barry Sanders highlights. You're like, how the fuck does no one not stop this guy? They just couldn't do it. Jordan, Sanders. And then, you know, in the 90s, I remember when Shaquille O'Neal got drafted, nobody that big moved the way he did. The way he moved up and down the floor was not like how Patrick Ewing moved. Do y'all realize that LeBron James is 6'9", 250? He's the same size as a prime Karl Malone, but the way he moves is more fluid. Some people are just born to do certain things. Bud was born to do this. It's not flashy. It's not like watching Roy Jones. It's like when you watch the prime Roy Jones, you'd be looking at it like, yo, what's he doing? How's he doing that? Yeah, okay. Bud's not flashy like that, but when you see people freeze when they fight him, you're like, what's going on? He's punching them. Why ain't he going over here? Why ain't he going to his body? They can't. And he eventually fucks you up. It's like, how'd that happen? It's Bud. You know what? That's my new response. How's he do? It's Bud. You know why I'm cool on saying that? Yo, it's just Bud. You know why? I remember when ESPN was hosting a particular fight and they went to Tim Bradley and say, well, how does he do this? You know what Tim Bradley's response was? Because he's Vasil Lomachenko. Wait a minute. Cooney Tunes. That was your response? Because he's Vasil Lomachenko? Well, that's my response. Well, how does he do all of that? Because he's Bud Crawford. That's my response, bro. You don't like what he does? Beat him. Eric Jordan in that strong house for 2 strong years, man. Salute to you, brother. Always supporting. He says, fans always want to make excuses on why their favorite fighter lost. Thanks, Miguel, for clapping those cheeks. But the ninja sword, bless Bud for the win. Heavyweight.
Give power to my nigger sword!
¡Ay, Miguel! ¡Miguel!
Oh, man. That guy, Tim Bradley, is something different, man.
The devil is a motherfucking liar. So you know I ain't worried. Biatch. Stupid bitch.
Uh-oh.
And there's no one around. And there's no one around.
Yo! Oh. We being fools now. We being fools now. But things are what they are, man. Look, man, I ain't gonna, look. Look at Diana. Oh, man, listen, man. We ain't gonna hold y'all, man. That's the live on coaching. I just felt it was imperative that we have this conversation. Bomac. Oh, and by the way, Bomac is not the only person he's coaching, isn't he?
No.
Lester Martinez, right? I forget.
He got a couple of young fighters too that
yeah. So Bo
they haven't
he was
really
coaching
came into
Keystone
prominence yet.
for a minute,
But
right? Yeah. So Bomac is generating a pretty deep resume. Coach of the year, in my opinion. If these guys can get coach of the year off of one fighter, Freddie Roach won coach of the year because of Manny Pacquiao for how many years in a row? I forget. But Bomac got my vote. Hall of Fame coach because of Bud too. You know what I'm saying? So his place in boxing history is solidified as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, man. Stormy, let them know how they can find you, good brother.
Everybody can find me right out here on YouTube, man. It's Stormy B Man. That's Stormy B Man in all caps, but no cap.
Yep. Y'all already know I'll be back tomorrow morning. Letting y'all know ahead of time. It's we're now on a countdown. It's Tank retirement.
Drew,
Stretch.
before you sign off, I just want to ask one thing of you. Please give your thoughts on the great Cecilia Breakers, man.
First of all, that woman's how old? 40 what?
44.
44 years old. Where's she from? Watch this, y'all.
She's Colombian born, but she's from Norway. That's where she fights out of Norway.
So those people across the pond are supposed to be supporting her, right?
Yep.
Now, where was her fight shown?
It was in Norway, and it was shown on an app that was supposed to be working in conjunction with DAZN, but DAZN didn't pick the fight up.
So DAZN ain't picked the fight up. She made history. She beat a woman that she's literally old enough to be her fucking daughter. She made some history. I didn't even know the fucking fight, and I guess that's my fault. I didn't even know about it. And plus, they put it on a goddamn app. They couldn't just throw it on DAZN somewhere. Fine. But if y'all don't understand, if y'all don't know Cecilia Breakers, she fought what was that young lady's name?
Emma Kozin. That's a lady that Clarissa defeated back in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was when Clarissa was still at 154. And what happened is Kozin ended up being successful after her fight with Clarissa, and became the WBC WBO unified super welterweight title holder.
Right. So she went on to have a career after the loss to the GOAT, Cecilia Brækhus, who this was her retirement fight, win or lose.
She was trying to give a second attempt at winning a second division title. She had tried against Terry Harper 2 years ago and got a majority decision draw. And of course, Harper was somebody that Matchroom, was sticking fast to and everything. And also, she was the former undisputed welterweight titleist until she ran across Jessica McCaskill. And that was a few years ago before McCaskill fell off, and McCaskill took the titles from her. And in an immediate rematch, McCaskill won a second time. So it's like McCaskill at that time just kind of had Brækhus's number, and those are the only two losses on her career. She beat fighters like Ivana Habazin, and we saw her take on Clarissa years ago. It's like, Cecilia is a good fighter, man, and really needs that respect. And as I told you when we were having conversation before the live, what she able to do in her last professional fight was the equivalent of what George Foreman did when he knocked out Michael Moore.
Yep.
And became a unified heavyweight champion for the second time. So and I'm just really, I'm kind of saddened by the lack of respect that is not shown, the respect that is not shown for her and her accomplishments. And these people are talking about all of this foolishness all the time and upholding stuff that really shouldn't get any airplay whatsoever. But
shout out to the sisterhood for supporting the female boxer. Shout out to y'all. The fuck? You gonna blame men for that? Can y'all even spell this woman's first and last name? Dummy. She's a Hall of Fame fighter. Whatever, man. Whatever. Y'all don't watch boxing. Ridiculous, man. But salute to her. I didn't even know about the damn fight. So that's my bad. And until we spoke about it. And I'm like, oh shit. But
yeah,
right.
I did a premiere on it last week. It was, I think that was my Thursday premiere. I did a video, on her and what she was going for, a second division title. And that this was actually going to be her last fight too.
Completely forgot. But then motherfuckers want to come through and say boxing's dead. It's not dead. Y'all just not paying attention. And when y'all paying attention, you pay attention to the wrong shit. Stormy puts out at least 2 or 3 premieres like every day. Keep you in tune with the sport. But, he'll put out a Cecilia Brækhus video. You'll go right past it and go to all kinds of videos to see what we saying bad about Tank. Y'all want to come in there and argue with us and everything else. You don't like boxing, you like him. But don't worry. I got everything you need. Because it's a clown show at this point. But salute to Cecilia Brækhus, man. Retire, go to the Hall of Fame. She's first ballot, in my opinion. So that's what we do, man. Nerds on Culture tomorrow night. You know what I mean? I'll be back here tomorrow morning. And I got a lot to discuss on Pep Talk. Sign up to my Patreon. I just put a new video up the other day. And I got a lot. There's things. The Pep Talk on the Patreon is gloves off. Because there's a lot that I'm not going to say. Because Miguel is waiting in his thong. Just to no, you can't say that. You can't talk about me people like that. That's all right, Miguel. I got you tomorrow. Watch. Salute to y'all. Venmo, Zelle, Cash App, Super Chat. Salute to y'all. And yeah, we'll catch y'all on the rebound, man. Peace.
Move!
Why are you gay?
Who says I'm gay?
You are gay.